I never thought the house I helped build would be the place where my voice would disappear. For 30 years I lived for my son. I worked early mornings, cleaned late nights, skipped dreams, and swallowed pain quietly. When his father passed away, I became mother and father both. I told myself sacrifice is love and love is silent. That morning the house felt different. Cold not because of weather, but because something had shifted. My son stood near the stairs, his face hard, his eyes distant. I tried to smile and asked if he wanted breakfast. He did not look at me. He said, "Get out of this house, Mom." His words were sharp, but his voice was calm, like he had practiced it. I waited for laughter or a sign that this was anger that would pass. But nothing came. I asked why. He said, "This is my house now. You interfere too much. You embarrass me. You make my wife uncomfortable." His wife stood behind him, arms crossed. She avoided my eyes. I realized then that this was not sudden. This moment had been planned in silence. I went upstairs slowly. Every step felt heavy. I packed one small bag, clothes, a photograph, and my old wallet. I touched the wall one last time, remembering the nights I stayed awake nursing him through fevers. When I came down, he was on his phone. He did not look up. I stood at the door waiting for him to stop me, to say he did not mean it. He did not. I walked out without a word. No anger, no tears. Just quiet. I did not know that silence would become my strength. And his regret. I did not know where I was going when I left that house. I only knew I could not turn back. The street looked unfamiliar even though I had walked it for years. I felt invisible, like the world had erased me in one sentence. I sat on a bench near the bus stop. My hands were shaking, but my face was calm. People passed by, laughing, talking, living. No one noticed the woman who had just lost her place in the world. I checked my phone once. No messages. No missed calls. Just silence. That silence hurt more than his words. I thought about calling a friend. Then I remembered how small my circle had become. How I had slowly disappeared into my role as a mother. How my needs had always come last. I took a bus to a small motel on the edge of town. It was cheap and quiet. The room smelled old, but it was clean. I sat on the bed and finally let my tears fall. I cried for the years I gave without counting. I cried for the nights I stayed strong when I was breaking. I cried because I still loved my son. That night I barely slept. Every sound felt loud. Every memory came rushing back. His first steps, his first word the day he called me his hero. By morning my phone buzzed. Once. Then again. I looked at the screen and froze. It was his name. Missed calls kept appearing. One after another. I did not answer. By noon there were 31 missed calls. Messages followed. Mom, please call me. Mom, where are you? Mom, we need to talk. I held the phone and felt something change inside me. For the first time he was chasing my silence. And I was not ready to give it back. I watched the phone screen light up again and again. Each vibration felt like a small apology that came too late. I turned the phone face down on the bed. For the first time in my life, I chose not to respond. I made myself a cup of weak coffee using the motel machine. It tasted bitter, but it kept me grounded. I sat by the small window and looked outside. Cars moved freely, going somewhere important. I wondered when my life had stopped moving. My mind traveled back to all the times I had answered immediately. Every call, every text, every demand. No matter how tired I was always available. I thought that was what love looked like. Now I was alone in a quiet room. And instead of breaking, I felt something unexpected. Relief. I took out the old photograph from my bag. It was me years ago, smiling wide, full of hope. I barely recognized that woman. She had dreams before she became only a mother. Another call came in. Then another. Voicemails filled my inbox. I did not listen to them. I was afraid his voice would pull me back into the role I had escaped. I lay down and stared at the ceiling. I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. Who am I when no one needs me? The answer scared me, but also excited me. I realized I had spent decades surviving. But now I had a chance to live. By evening I went for a walk. The air was cool and fresh. I passed a small library and felt drawn inside. Books had once been my escape. I signed up for a library card using my own name. Not someone mother. Just me. When I returned to the motel, my phone was quiet. No new calls. No messages. The silence was different now. It felt earned. I knew this was only the beginning. My son thought my silence was punishment. He did not know it was preparation. The next morning I woke up before sunrise. For years my body had followed a routine built around others. Now there was no one waiting for me. No one expecting anything. That freedom felt strange but powerful. I stepped outside the motel and breathed deeply. The sky was soft and quiet. I realized how long it had been since I noticed simple things. Like the way light touches the world gently. I checked my phone again. More messages from my son. His words were different now. Not angry, not demanding. Just afraid. He wrote that the house felt empty. That something felt wrong. That his wife was upset too. I wondered if she was afraid of losing control. Or if guilt had finally found its way in. I did not reply. Instead I walked to a nearby diner. I ordered breakfast for myself. No one else. It felt like an act of rebellion. As I ate, I listened to conversations around me. People talking about work, dreams, plans. I remembered that I once had plans too. I remembered that I was more than someone background. I decided then that I would not rush back. Not to the house. Not to the role. I needed time to hear my own voice again. Later that day, I found a small community center. They were looking for volunteers. I signed my name without hesitation. I did not explain my story. I did not need to. That night my phone rang again. This time I answered. But I did not speak. I listened. My son's voice cracked. He said he did not know how things went so wrong. He said he was sorry. I closed my eyes. For the first time I heard fear instead of authority. But I also heard something else. Expectation. He still thought I would return. He did not know I was learning how not to. That night after the call, I could not sleep. Memories kept rising like waves I had pushed down for years. I remembered moments I once dismissed as normal. Moments where my voice was softened, my opinions ignored, my presence tolerated. I remembered how my son's wife slowly changed the air in the house. She never shouted, never insulted openly. She smiled while moving things. My chair, my photos, my space. Until I felt like a guest in my own home. I remembered the first time my son asked me to stay quiet during an argument. He said peace is important. What he meant was silence. I realized then that the words "get out of this house" did not come from nowhere. They were built brick by brick through years of quiet permission. And I had allowed it. The next day, I went back to the community center. I helped organize books and talk to people. Strangers listened to me with kindness. They did not see me as a burden. They saw me as a person. One woman asked about my life. I told her pieces. Not the pain. Just the strength. When I returned to the motel, I found an email on my phone. It was from a lawyer office. At first I thought it was a mistake. Then my heart slowed. Years ago my husband had made arrangements. A trust in my name. A safety net he never told our son about. It included the house. The land. Everything. I sat on the bed holding the phone. My hands were steady. This was the truth buried beneath years of sacrifice. I understood now why my husband always said, "You will be okay even if I am gone." My silence was no longer empty. It was full of knowledge. And that knowledge would change everything. I sat there for a long time holding the phone and breathing slowly. I did not feel angry. I did not feel excited. I felt clear. For years I believed strength meant enduring everything quietly. Now I understood strength also meant choosing when to speak. And when not to. I read the email again carefully. The trust was real. The documents were signed years before my husband passed away. He had protected me in a way I never expected. I remembered how he used to look at me when our son raised his voice. He would stay silent. But his eyes always told me something. Now I finally understood. That evening my son called again. This time his voice was softer than ever. He asked me to come home. He said things were not the same without me. I listened without interrupting. He talked about stress, about misunderstandings, about love. I said very little. I told him I needed time. I told him I was safe. That was all. He sounded relieved. He thought time meant forgiveness. He thought silence meant weakness. Over the next few days, I stayed busy. I helped at the community center. I shared meals with people who asked nothing from me. I laughed more than I had in years. I met women who had lost themselves too. Each story felt familiar. Each voice felt like a mirror. At night, I wrote in a notebook. Not letters. Not complaints. Just truths. Things I had never allowed myself to admit. I wrote that love should not make you small. I wrote that sacrifice without respect becomes pain. I wrote that I deserved peace. Meanwhile, the calls from my son slowed. The messages changed again. Concern turned into impatience. He wanted answers. He wanted control. And I knew then, the quiet path I was walking would lead somewhere powerful. Not through revenge, but through choice. A week passed and my son finally showed up at the motel. I was not surprised. Control always seeks presence. I saw him through the window, standing unsure like a child who had lost his way. For a moment my heart softened. Then I remembered the door closing behind me that day. I opened the door and stepped outside. I did not invite him in. I did not hug him. I just stood there. He looked tired, older. Fear sat heavy on his face. He asked why I would not come home. I told him this is my time. I told him I needed space. He did not like that answer. He said his wife was stressed. He said neighbors were talking. He said family does not walk away. I listened calmly. Then I asked him a simple question. When did family stop listening? He did not answer. He looked away like he used to when he was a boy caught in a lie. He told me he did not mean the words. That anger took over. That he was sorry. I nodded. Not in forgiveness, but in understanding. I told him something I had never said before. I said I raised you to be strong, not cruel. I said love does not push people out of doors. His eyes filled. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. I told him I would talk again soon. But not yet. I closed the door gently. As I leaned against it, my hands shook. Not from fear. From release. Outside, I heard him sit on the steps. I heard him cry. And for the first time, I did not rush to fix it. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calm. The kind that comes when fear no longer controls the heart. I knew something important had shifted. I checked my phone and saw a message from the lawyer. He asked if I was ready to move forward. I replied yes. Later that day, I met him in a quiet office. He explained everything slowly. The trust. The house. The decisions already made years ago. I listened carefully. Not with shock, but with respect for the man my husband had been. He had seen what I refused to see. He had prepared for the moment I was finally pushed too far. The lawyer asked if my son knew. I said no. He nodded like he understood everything. When I left the office, the world looked different. Not brighter, just clearer. That evening my son called again. His tone had changed. Less demanding. More desperate. He said his wife was asking questions. About paperwork. About names. About things he did not understand. I told him calmly that some things were not his to control. He went silent. I said there were truths he would learn soon, and that I hoped he would listen this time. He asked what I meant. I told him truth does not need anger. It arrives quietly, just like consequences. After the call, I sat alone and smiled. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally held my own ground. For the first time in decades, the future did not belong to my son. It belonged to me. The following morning, I drove past the house I had once called home. It looked the same, yet everything inside had changed. The walls held silence that felt heavy, not because of emptiness, but because of all the lies that had grown there. I parked a few blocks away and watched. My son and his wife moved through the rooms carefully. The furniture was where they wanted it. But the warmth was gone. The air felt forced. I realized then how much control they had believed they held. How easily they thought they could erase me. How little they understood the strength I carried quietly for years. I saw my son sit at the dining table. He looked small, lost. The house was his, but the power was gone. It had never been his to take. I thought about going in, about confronting, about saying everything I had held back for decades. But I stayed in the car. I let silence do what words never could. I remembered all the times I had walked softly past him, all the times I had bent to avoid conflict, all the nights I had stayed awake fearing I was too much or too little. Now it was different. I had nothing to fear from them. The truth of the trust. The decisions made quietly by my husband. The life I had chosen to claim for myself. All of it gave me an invisible strength. I left the street slowly. I did not look back. The house would remain theirs, but it would never hold power over me again. A few days later my son came to see me at the motel again. This time he did not wait outside. He knocked softly. I opened the door and saw the fear and confusion in his eyes. He looked older than his age, worn down by guilt and the weight of what he could not fix. He spoke quickly, his words spilling over each other. He said he did not know what he was thinking. He said he had been unfair. He said he had underestimated me. He said he wished he could undo everything. I listened quietly. I did not interrupt. I let him spill his regret, his anger, his fear, everything he had bottled up for weeks. Then I spoke. I told him I had never wanted to hurt him. I told him love should not be used as a weapon. I told him silence can be louder than words. I told him choices matter more than demands. He looked down. He could not meet my eyes. I could feel him breaking. Not physically, but emotionally. The realization that control is not power, and fear is never love. I reminded him of my years, of sacrifice, of nights I stayed awake, of dreams I postponed, of times I smiled even when I wanted to scream. I said I am not angry anymore, but I am strong, and that strength cannot be ignored. It cannot be taken. It cannot be erased. He nodded slowly. Tears fell. He admitted he had been blind. He admitted he had been cruel. He asked how he could ever make it right. I told him there is no instant fix. Apologies are words. Actions are the truth. He must change. Not for me, but for himself and the life he wants to build. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he said he understood. Not completely. Not yet. But enough to start. I watched him leave later. And for the first time I felt relief. Not because I won, but because he began to see. And I no longer had to prove anything. After that day I felt lighter. I realized I had been carrying years of weight that were never mine to bear. I decided to focus on myself. To live without fear. To reclaim every small piece of happiness I had ignored. I went back to the community center. I volunteered with energy and purpose. I met women and men who had stories like mine. We shared our experiences. We laughed. We cried. We healed together. I also started taking small steps toward my dreams. Books I had wanted to read. Classes I had postponed. Places I had wanted to visit. I began to live again. Sometimes I thought about my son and his wife. I did not feel hatred. I felt calm. I knew they had learned lessons in ways they would never forget. And I knew my silence had been stronger than any argument. I paid attention to my own home now. My space. My time. My choices. I decorated my room with things that made me happy. I cooked meals just the way I liked. I sang when I wanted. I laughed loudly. I did not apologize for any of it. Then one day a letter arrived. From a neighbor. My son had sent it. Inside were apologies, acknowledgements, and a quiet request for advice on how to fix their mistakes. I smiled. I knew I could help, but I also knew I would help on my terms. Not because I owed them anything, but because my heart was free to choose. I realized that the strongest revenge is not anger or punishment. It is living fully, quietly, confidently, and letting the world see your strength without having to say a word. And as I closed the letter, I felt the calm of victory, the kind that comes when you finally claim yourself, when the world can no longer decide your worth. Weeks passed and I felt more alive than I had in decades. Every morning I woke up and made choices for myself. I walked in the park. I smiled at strangers. I laughed at small things. I allowed myself to feel joy without guilt. My son called occasionally. His tone had softened even more. He asked for advice. He admitted mistakes. He shared moments of fear and confusion. And I listened with patience, with compassion, but also with clear boundaries. I realized that change is slow, that forgiveness is not instant, that respect is earned, and that strength comes from within, not from others' approval. I spent evenings writing in my journal, dreams I had postponed, thoughts I had ignored, plans I had never made real. I wrote them all down, each word a small act of reclaiming my life. I even started small travels, visiting places I had once dreamed about, feeling the wind on my face, hearing my own laughter, sensing the world was bigger than my fears, and bigger than the shadows of the past. One afternoon, I met a young woman struggling with her family. I saw myself in her. I gave her advice, not the kind of advice I wished for, but the kind I had lived. Live fully. Choose wisely. Do not let silence become a prison. By the end of the month, I knew something had shifted inside me permanently. I was no longer a mother who only gave. I was a woman who lived. I was free, and that freedom was my greatest power. It was a quiet evening when my son came to my new apartment. He knocked gently and I opened the door. He looked nervous yet hopeful. I smiled and invited him in, not because I owed him anything, but because I chose to. We sat at the small table I had decorated with flowers and books. He apologized again, not just words this time. He spoke about his mistakes, his selfishness, his fear, and his lack of understanding. I listened carefully. I let him speak, and then I spoke. I told him I forgave him not because he deserved it, but because I needed peace for myself. I told him that love does not demand obedience. It does not punish or shame. It nurtures and respects. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. He finally understood the depth of what I had carried silently. He realized that my strength was never against him. It was always for the family. For all of us. We talked long into the night, sharing memories we had overlooked, laughing at small moments, acknowledging pain we had caused each other, and slowly we rebuilt a connection. Not perfect, not instant, but real and honest. After he left, I sat quietly in my living room. The soft light from the window warmed my face. I felt complete, not because the past had changed, but because I had taken back my voice, my choices, my life. I realized that the greatest victory is not in proving others wrong. It is in rising, silently, fiercely, and without asking for permission. And as the night fell, I knew this was only the beginning of my true life. A life I would live fully, freely, and with unshakable strength. And nothing could ever take that from me.